Hi, I'm Richard from Daly's Walk Behind Tractors, and we're making a video here showing the basic setup of the BCS sickle bar. This particular sickle bar is a single action model. The dual action is very similar. So your sickle bar is going to arrive in multiple boxes. The sickle bar blade assembly in one box. More than likely, on rare occasions we may ship it fully assembled, but 99% of the time not. And your transmission in another box. So this video will help aid in just getting it put together. It's pretty simple to do and even easier if you watch the video. This particular sickle bar is a 30-inch. It's got the oil bath type transmission. It's the short transmission, so it's not going to weigh as much. The balance isn't going to be as good on a larger size tractor. So you've got two different choices of oil bath transmissions, plus the grease type transmission, which is going to be lighter. Something else to note, this particular sickle bar is being supplied on a Grillo G85D tractor. Regardless of whether you purchase the BCS or the Grillo from us, we supply the BCS sickle bar because they're really good. Important thing to note as far as maintenance and wear and tear on your sickle bar and longevity, do not run it more than half throttle, preferably less than half throttle, third throttle, as low a throttle as you want. Of course, that does slow down your ground speeds, your walking speed, but if you have a machine with 3 working speeds, I think you'll be just fine. I like to run mine probably a third throttle on my 853 diesel, which is what I'm generally running it on. So just FYI on that. Okay, the first thing we're going to do here, this is a BCS. This happens to be the 30-inch laser sickle bar, single action. So it comes with, this is how we adjust our height with these skids here, okay? They fit on like so. Wanted to show something about them right quick. So these are newer style skids. Older sickle bars had a much different, skid height adjustment system. Recently, BCS redesigned this piece here. I don't know if you can see in the camera, but there's a little bit of some ridges in here. The point of that is to help hold this snug. We had issues on some of the larger sickle bars, not probably this 30-inch size, where they're so heavy that without this ridge in here, that the skids are unable to hold the height constant. So if you happen to have some of the older style skid which looks just like this but does not have these ridges in it, one thing we do, especially even on ones that look like this with the 71-inch double action sickle bars specifically, so we actually put some sandpaper in there just to add some extra grit or give it some bite or holding power. So I don't think that's necessary at all on smaller sickle bars. So just FYI on that. Okay, so basically I've got the sickle bar propped up here because I'm going to set it at about this height. So I'm going to go ahead and put one bolt in here. And one bolt in here. Okay, now that we've got this piece here bolted down to our sickle bar, we'll go ahead and tighten down our height adjuster right here. 13mm socket again. Get them tight, but not too tight. Okay. Putting the transmission onto the blade assembly. You have to get basically lift it up, get it over your studs, holding it just in the right position. You might have to. You're gonna have to move this piece right here to get it to fit inside the coupler. It just went down in there. Okay, so we've got the transmission set onto the sickle bar already. The next step would be to fasten it down. So what you've got is 2 really thick washers, lock washers. One side has a curvature, one has a depression. Make sure the hump or the curved side is facing up, otherwise it's not going to be a lock washer. So curved side up, and then we just tighten it down with the nuts. We had 22mm wrench. We'll take care of these. Now, I would recommend keeping an eye on these after you put some hours or you're out cutting for a while, so make sure these stay snug. I've had them come loose before, I've seen them come loose, so make sure I make these very tight, really tight. This is a picture of the transmission set onto the sickle bar.
Here's our bushing and our coupler right here. This bushing is down inside our coupler. We're in the process of adjusting it. Notice there's some free play in it. When I wiggle this, you can see it move a little bit. That's not necessarily set to the spec we need, but that's what we want, is the tiniest bit of movement in it. So we're going to adjust that.
So this is a 22 millimeter, essentially a lock nut. Okay, kind of funny shaped, but it is 22 millimeter. I'll just take it out so you can see it. All right, so here's the lock nut. If you can see that, kind of a funny shaped, more cone shaped on the inside. You got that? I can't hear you.
Yes.
All right, so put that back on there, and then the actual bolt here that is going to allow you to set the free play is a 10 millimeter. So we just set them from one side. We don't loosen both sides, but you could actually do it from either side if you wanted. So next we'll go ahead and put the hood on the transmission. Although while we have the transmission sitting here, a couple things I can point out. So here's our drain oil check slash fill. We've got a grease fitting here. This is, of course, is the oil bath transmission. This is the short or lighter oil bath transmission. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and connect the cover of the shroud over top of the oil bath transmission. So you've got a couple brackets that come in the kit, and this is all detailed actually in the BCS sickle bar manual pretty decently. But so we went ahead and put this bracket together like this, with the large hole here at the top and the smaller holes here so it can connect. This hole at the top is where the top part of the shroud will connect. So we're just going to go ahead and put this on. There's a little roll pin or similar here on the front side. It slides through the hole and put a nut through, a bolt through. Lock it down. Okay, so we fasten this bracket here onto the back of the transmission, and we'll go ahead and put the shroud on. So here's the hardware we have for fastening the shroud cover top of the transmission. The long bolt is going to go through the front. So we're going to take long bolt. We're going to take these two spacers here, which if you can read this in the BCS manual, but they say to use for the short oil bath and or the grease type transmissions, use 2 of these spacers. For the long oil bath transmission, which you'd want to use on larger machines, 1 spacer, and for the dual action or duplex is 0 spacers. So just FYI, but that's documented in the manual. So we put our bolt through here, and the spacers are going to go right up underneath like this, then down through the hole right here. And then we just take one of the lock nuts here, which they're both the same size because the bolt diameter is the same.
Go.
Okay, so we've got our front bolt on the shroud cover put through, and we went ahead and just finger tightened our nut onto the underside here. We'll come back and snug them up. By the way, those are 22 millimeter size. So topping attached to the top. Sometimes I've seen the sickle bars come with 1 lock washer, wavy washer, sometimes 2. You can use both of them, 1 at top and 1 at bottom. Alright, one other piece to your sickle is just this little blade guard here, which you can flip over. Clip over your blade. It's especially important to do that on the the double action sickle bar, because it's got long shanks or knives sticking out, and if you kick one of those, run into them, it'll be a real bad situation. You get hurt pretty bad. So it's definitely good to keep those on when not in use. After you're done running your sickle bar, wash it down. You could do a light oiling if it's going to sit away for a long time. I generally don't do much oiling on the sickle bar. It's just going to attract dirt and dust. That's basically the setup on the sickle bar.